Hey, runners, I have a special guest with me today to share, or I have two special guests with me to actually share one person's story. So, we're going to talk about Rachel's story on how she really crushed her first marathon. For those that have been following along for a while, I will be updating you on Rachel's running journey, who was a guest in episode 66, way back almost 2 years ago by the time you're listening to this. So, welcome to episode 159 on the Healthy Runner podcast, where we help you get stronger, run faster, and enjoy lifelong injury free running. And welcome back to the show, Rachel and Coach Lou.
Thank you. It's great to be
Hello.
here.
Same
Yeah,
here. So happy.
I'm excited to have you both here. And, you know, I've honestly, Rachel, been in awe of your marathon journey. And, we both were training for our marathons at the same time. Yours was a week earlier than mine was, but we both had the same coach in Coach Lou guiding us. And I just loved seeing you do all of those hard workouts that you were doing. And with it being your first marathon, and as I shared in episode 66, when we shared your story of when you and I worked together and you getting faster and kind of getting a 5K PR and your half marathon PR, all while doing your dissertation and finishing up your PhD, and then just seeing what you've been able to do on your first marathon. I just knew that we need to provide the listeners a little update for who heard your story way back in episode 66. And yeah, I think some of the things that you, I'm sure, have reflected upon will be good tips for those who are trying to figure out the marathon, or for those who are nervous about their first marathon. So thank you so much for agreeing to come back on the show. And if you don't mind, just give the listeners a little bit of an intro to where you call home and what you do.
Sure, yeah. So I live in Utah. I live in Eagle Mountain, which is just a little south of Salt Lake City. And I am a scientist. I am about to start a new faculty position, so I'm brand new in that. I study wetlands, so I'm an ecologist. And I've got two little kiddos, two boys, 8 and almost 5. Um, and then my husband also works kind of in the environmental field. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Wow. They are getting old. So is your youngest one in like kindergarten now or not yet?
Not yet. He'll be in
Okay.
kindergarten next year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a big step. That's a big step.
totally.
Yeah, and those who have listened to many other episodes before know who Coach Lou is. He's no stranger to the podcast, so he's been on many times before. So thank you, Coach, for jumping on here to share from just like a coach's perspective on Rachel's journey and some of the things that have been helpful as you've helped guide her to this marathon. So thanks again for coming on, Coach.
It's my pleasure to work with Rachel, and it's so much fun.
Yeah. So Rachel, tell us first, since we last had you on the podcast,
Mhm.
I know, you have been, working with Coach Lou, for a half marathon training cycle after we last spoke, and
Mhm.
then, decided to make the jump to a marathon. What went into that decision-making process, if you don't mind sharing what was going on in that very intelligent brain of yours?
Sure. Yeah, I think a marathon is something that I just always wanted to do, but I wanted to wait until I felt like I was ready. And so I just wanted to get a few half marathons under my belt first. And let's see, how many half marathons did I do? I think I did 4 before the marathon. And yeah, after that last half marathon, I was like, yeah, let's do this. I'll do it next year. And just got like super excited about it and just, I don't know, just decided I was going to go for it. So kind of
Yeah,
brought me to this point.
and you were certainly ready for it. From your coach's perspective, Lou, what are some of the things that you see in runners that are in support of them kind of making that leap toward a marathon?
One thing is definitely they have a consistent running regime and weekly mileage, injury free, and half marathon feels easy, and they are no stranger to speed work. And really, if you can run half marathon strong and you feel like you can go do more, that's the time you can think of marathon. You can run half marathon strong. You don't get injured. You get used to different speed work, and you are happy to run 5 times a week, and running becomes part of your life. And yeah, it's like you're ready. You're ready.
Yeah, I love that how you kind of described that consistency, and clearly Rachel was doing that. And Rachel, I just love how you were mindful in this decision, and this is something that we always recommend for our clients. So I know there's a lot of you out there who are listening to this, and you may be just starting out in your running journey this year, perhaps, and you're like, I'm going to run a marathon, this coming fall. I would highly recommend you listen to Rachel, listen to Coach Lou. And I was actually just talking to Coach Whitney earlier today about this Coach Kat earlier today about one of our clients, Susanna, who we're just so proud of. And she's new to running, and I just love how she is being so mindful and taking her time and is running multiple half marathons and just working on improving that craft first, right? Getting faster. And that's something that we really recommend and stress to a lot of new runners out there. Can certain people run a marathon within their first year or two of running? Yes. But we really, your risk level is going to be a lot higher in maybe getting injured or not getting the result that you're going to be really proud of for that marathon. So I think you're going to see with Rachel's result that she shares today, waiting a little bit is well worth it. And if you think about it, you don't want to only run for like a year or two, right? And just like knock it off your bucket list. If you guys are listening to this show, then, you feel strongly about lifelong injury-free running as well. And one way to do that is to have a little patience and really work in a progressive fashion to make sure that you're ready for the rigors of marathon training. And clearly you were, Rachel. So I was excited when you decided to run that marathon, and it definitely pumped me up a little bit when seeing some of your training. Can you share with us, you know, I guess what was your biggest takeaways from like the training leading up to the race, or were there any surprises to you? When you did make that leap from half marathon training cycles to now training for a marathon.
Yeah. I guess actually what was most surprising to me is that it wasn't that much different. Like I had just had prepared in my mind, like, all right, this is going to be like twice the distance, twice the time to prepare. I don't know. The long runs are definitely longer, and all of my weekly runs were a little bit longer. I was running more miles per week, but it wasn't like a huge adjustment compared to what I was doing before, which was nice because during the training cycle, I was very busy. A lot going on over the summer. Coach Lou and I had to kind of navigate me doing field work where I would be out in the wetlands all day, like out in the sun, taking measurements and stuff, and just get home so tired. And we had to kind of make some adjustments on some runs. But yeah, I don't know. The whole training experience was so great. I had a really great experience. And I think it was just because, like, Lou and I communicated so much and we made changes when they were needed, but also like sticking to the plan as much as possible. Yeah, I don't know. That was really helpful to me.
Yeah, and I, shared in my marathon reflection, I felt the same exact way. Like literally, I thought it was going to be like this huge difference. And I
Mhm.
felt the same exact way that I was surprised at, but I think it really speaks to the level of preparation that you had in half marathon training, right? And that you've done, a bunch of half marathons where you did hard workouts, and you were used to running double digit long runs for a long time. It's not like you've only run a handful of 12 milers, and you even did like a 14 miler before your last half marathon race. So you had all of that, fitness kind of built up in
Mhm.
there. So yeah, that was interesting that you felt the same way that I did, that it wasn't as grueling as you thought. And yeah, that
Actually,
was
I had,
definitely
yeah,
tough for you.
go
Yeah, go
ahead.
ahead, Lou.
I was thinking of this same thing too, and now I realize that speaks that you are ready to run the marathon training because your half marathon training is pretty hard, and your base building has mileage 25 plus per week. So that means your body is ready to take on this level. It's ready to go into marathon training. And yes, it doesn't feel as different as before, but that's because your marathon training, your half marathon training was pretty hard too, right? It's not your half marathon. When you train for your half marathon, your goal is not to finish your half marathon. You are trying to PR your half marathon. So that was pretty hard. And then that at that level, the half marathon training is not that different from the marathon training. So that's why you don't feel that much difference because you were training pretty hard. Even though it's a half marathon, you are trying to PR for the half marathon. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that you talked about the flexibility, in your schedule that you needed, and that the communication with Coach Lou was important in kind of when you were doing that field work. And I remember Coach Lou speaking to that as well. And especially with you being out in like the hot sun in like summer, right? And just thinking about like recoverability, as Coach Lou calls it, right? And recovering after those harder runs, making sure the hydration, the electrolytes, right? And then you're out there like baking in the sun or on your feet, and I'm sure walking probably for a while, right? I would imagine you don't
Yeah.
like park in these areas so close to where you're going to collect and do your research, right? So
Yeah.
I would imagine you are on your feet a lot. So what type of flexibility, like, could you give me an example of like what that looked like for someone to kind of get an idea of like what do you mean by flexibility, and what adjustments did you need to make?
Yeah. So during the weeks where I was doing field work, I didn't do really hard speed work, I think. Well, you need to correct me when I say things that are wrong. But this is what I remember is that we tried to line those up with like cutback weeks, just to make sure that I had plenty of time to recover and wasn't like overdoing it during those weeks that I had field work.
I think that we didn't realize this before. So you did some hard work during those few work week, and those pretty well, those workouts are not as fast as I expect you to be, and I feel like you usually push yourself, and something is happening, and you say, "Oh, I'm so tired," and things. So we talk, and you talk about a few weeks, this few trips, so hard. Then we made adjustments so that we try to align your schedule so that usually it's a cutback week, and or just remove the run. Sometimes we instead of doing a hard run during the week, we made it as part of a long run spice. So we made it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having some of that customization, it sounds like to me, was important for you. Whereas if you were just kind of downloading, plan on the internet,
Hmm.
most of us runners, we're pretty type A, and we feel like we need to stick to the plan, right? And if you don't execute the plan as written, you're a failure. And I hear so many stories of runners who go with that approach and fight through it and say, hey, despite my field work, I'm still running a marathon. And they try to fight through that. And I think it's important for those that are, number one, don't have a coach and they're, going on their own. If they're in that situation, that they need to realize that we need to make adjustments, and it's
Yes.
okay to vary from the plan and think about how you can make the plan fit to what's going on in your life. So for Rachel, it was a matter of, she had these certain weeks that she was doing field work, and it was going to be rigorous on her body. She's out there in the hot sun. She's walking around a lot. She's on her feet a lot. She's probably not eating and drinking frequently in a time period that, she's going to recover and feed her muscles in her body and all of that. So Lou strategically, had those as cutback weeks. So, the hard stuff is going to happen when she's not doing field work, and we're going to recover and do easier workouts for the weeks that she is. And I remember you doing the same similar thing for me, Lou, with my summer travel schedule was like pretty for like a month and a half. I was like, where's Waldo? Where's Dwayne this weekend? Where we were traveling a lot, and it was very helpful to like not have to worry about while I was on vacation with family, whatever. Like, oh my goodness, I got to do this 20 miler. Like, you're kidding me, right? Or this really hard 60 miler, and you were able to adjust that to where, I got a long run in before going away on vacation, and then got another one in when I got back. So kind of strategically plan that. So I want those listening to, realize that yes, there are adjustments to a plan, and you need to make them work in order to benefit from the training and benefit from the recovery, because the recovery is part of the training in order to actually get in some of those hard runs. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
get
So
stronger during the
And
recovery. You get stronger during the recovery, not you get stress from the workout, but then the stress itself doesn't get you stronger. It's after the workout, your body's recovering. That's when you're actually getting stronger. So that's why we talk about food and things and sleep and things. But that's when the real progress are made during the recovery. So that's the very important thing. Sorry,
yeah,
Rachel, what are you
you're fine.
trying to
And
say?
I was just going to add too that besides having the flexibility, another thing that was really helpful for me, like working with a coach, is not having to make that plan myself, like figuring out how should I adjust this and when should I do these runs and all of that. Like that's just a lot of like mental energy that I didn't have to worry about. So that was really helpful.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I know that's helpful for a lot of folks is, yeah, you have enough to worry about with your job, your field work, the family, right? Who wants to like spend time researching, like, should I be doing this workout today or that workout? So kind of offloading that and taking that off of your plate is extremely helpful. And even for me, being someone who programs stuff, it's even helpful for other coaches so they don't have to, number one, so they can get an objective viewpoint, but then number two, so they don't have to think about what they need to do for themselves as well. So that's a very good point. And kind of, if you can give us maybe we kind of spoke a little bit about the training, and I do want to get to some of Coach Lou's points at the end, or like keys to success that he found working with you, Rachel. But the race itself, how did that go? How did race day go for you? Was it everything that you imagined? Were there things that didn't go right, or that you weren't expecting to feel?
Yeah. So overall, race day was fantastic. I just had the best experience. I loved it. The
Which
thing,
marathon did you do, by the way?
oh yeah, I ran the St. George Marathon. So it's in southern Utah. And it's really beautiful. I highly recommend this marathon. It's a really popular marathon for like people running their first marathon as well.
Nice.
So
Good to know.
yeah, it's a really great course. Lots of downhill, which is
Yeah.
really fun. And also led to my little surprise issue. That was really the only negative thing about my race, but that was just that I ended up with a hurt toenail from
Mm,
all the downhill, and I should have had, like, my shoes were just a little bit too small. And I mean, my shoes, I didn't think they were too small, but they were too small to be doing that much downhill in. Like, yeah,
right.
that caused me a little grief. I thought at the end of the race for sure when I took off my shoe, I was going to have no toenail, but it wasn't that bad. But it did cause me a little pain. But really, overall, with the marathon, the thing that kind of surprised me the most was just how comfortable most of the races, and Lou always likes to talk about it as like 20 mile warm up and then a 10K race, and just being so comfortable for such a huge part of the race, you just get to enjoy it. And it was so much fun because I came in like with a plan, very well planned out. Like, Lou made me this. I made sure I brought this with me so I could have it. This is my pace band from my race. Like, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I had my whole plan with my electrolytes and gels and everything, and I just got to enjoy it. It was really fun, and I just felt like the miles were kind of just passing by
Flying
at the
by, yeah.
beginning, you know, for for my first 20 miles, and it was really fun.
And
And
how did
then
you execute? How did you
yeah,
execute that pacing strategy? Were you able to hold
yeah,
back for those first, 5 or 6 miles?
right. Yeah, I did. I
Nice.
I went a tiny bit faster than I was planning on at the beginning, but it was fine. Nothing crazy. And I had like miles 7 through maybe like 11 or so, there was some uphill, like lots of uphill, and I knew it was coming. And I kind of actually having this pace band made me like not feel bad about like cutting back on my pace. Like, all right, this mile, oh, I have like 9 minutes and 14 seconds for this one. So, like,
Yeah.
it kind of helped me relax and just, I don't know, keep that effort without feeling like really stressed about it. It was almost like my
Hmm.
time was budgeted. And so I felt like, okay. And I had my own secret time goal. And so I kind of treated my pace band as like, this is the absolute slowest I will run each mile, but I'm going to do them faster.
Wait, the secret time goal, did you share this with Coach Lou or no? It was your personal secret time goal.
My personal secret time goal.
I love this.
We we had this pace band for like a 3:38 marathon, and I really wanted to run under 3:35.
Okay.
And so I just thought, I'm just gonna, just run a little bit faster and see how it goes.
And what was your final time?
And then I ended 3:34:59. So I met my goal by 1 second.
Wow, that is that is phenomenal. I've never seen someone come that close to
Yeah.
to hitting their goal for a marathon. Like, we're not talking about 5K, like 1 second. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty remarkable.
It was so funny. And it was just kind of worked out that way, because I was following the pace band, running like a little bit faster than it. And then at the end, I thought that I didn't make it just because of when I had started and stopped. My watch wasn't synced up with the official time. I thought I missed it by like 10 seconds.
Right.
But I had stopped it actually at the wrong point. And so it wasn't until I looked at my results that I realized I'd made it. So that was really
That's
fun.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
and I'm
But
happy that you didn't start the first few miles too fast, because it's
yeah,
okay in the middle miles, like a few seconds faster if that's comfortable flow, and the
right.
last 6 miles you push faster, no problem. As long as you don't run the first few miles faster, I'm not angry.
Yeah. And that was the thing. It was faster than what we had kind of set, but it wasn't like crazy. And it wasn't like I'm going to go for it and I'm going to be miserable. I wanted to make sure I was comfortable. And it was really important to me that I had a good experience for my first marathon. And so,
That's the other thing. When I made the pace band for you, I was pretty conservative too. I
yeah,
sort of talked to you that yes, 3:30 is gonna be PQ, but I don't think you'll finish quite there. Just miss a
Yeah.
little bit. But if you go for that, you're gonna bunk for sure.
Hmm.
So then,
Yeah.
yeah, I made the band a little conservative, and if you can push it and you beat the band, that's good. If you had the band,
Yeah.
you cannot catch up with it. That feel bad, right?
Yeah. Totally. I think that's a mindset thing. And I also want to add to, like, just a shout out to Coach Kat because before the marathon, I listened to the podcast you guys did about like mental, like
Yeah.
being ready for the mental part of the marathon. And I had a training workout like a couple, I don't know, 3 weeks before the marathon or something, where I had this like really long marathon pace. And I had kind of set it in my mind as like, hey, this is my fitness test and this is going to tell me where I'm at for my marathon. And I just had a bad day that day. It was like holding my marathon pace felt really hard. And of course, I had picked to run a trail with like a lot of hills. I mean, it was a road trail, but still, it was just like a little hard. And I was just like, this is terrible. My fitness is not where I thought it was. Like, this is just, I was so feeling down about it. And Coach Kat said something like, it doesn't matter if you have a bad training. Like, that doesn't mean that your fitness is, you know, lower than you think it is, or like everyone gets to have a bad day. And she had also said, like, every mile is a chance to do something new. Like, what did she say? Every mile a new opportunity. I think
Yep.
that's what she said. And I
Yes.
loved it.
Yes.
I run another marathon that's going on the back of my shirt because it really helped me a lot. I liked it.
Yeah. No, that was a great episode, and yeah, I used a lot of the strategies she talked about in my race as well, which really
Hmm.
helped me get through all the physical GI troubles that I was experiencing, where I really had to put those mental strategies to the test. But I'm glad that helped you as well. And yeah, that we have bad days in training, and that doesn't necessarily dictate how you are going to perform on race day. And honestly, we have bad race days as well. And someone who does have a bad race day, then they really shouldn't be, they shouldn't allow that to dictate how they feel about themselves or how they feel about their running. So yeah,
So
that if
important.
you are a runner who struggled with race performance, then there's always another race, and you will have a better day. Get back out there, get back on the horse, and you will have a good day as long as you remain consistent with your training. Yeah, so the race itself sounded pretty darn magical, honestly, for someone's first marathon. And even at the end, so tell me about that last 10K. Did you feel
Hmm.
like you were able to give a kick, and were you able to, turn it up a little bit at the end?
Yeah. So I was starting to feel like really tired. I think it was like mile 19. I looked down and it was like my only mile that was like slower than the pace band. And I was just like, oh man, this is just not it. Like after I saw that pace, I just kind of took off a little bit because I was like, this isn't happening. I'm not slowing down at the end of this thing. So I just picked it up to the pace I wanted to be at. And I just told myself, like, I didn't want to put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, it's okay, just hold this pace. And I don't know, as I got closer to the end, I think when I had like 2 miles left, I just told myself like, you already did it. You already ran this whole race. Like you already did it. There's nothing to worry about. Like you just run and finish. And I was able to kind of pick it up at the end. And I think I should have looked at all my paces, but I think my last mile was one of my fastest. So it was
That's
good.
fantastic. That's fantastic. And what do you attribute that to? Like why you didn't hit a wall, or why you didn't kind of struggle and get slower during those last couple of miles.
Yeah. I think a few things go into that. I mean, one is having a good pacing strategy and not going out too fast. Another thing is that I was really careful with my nutrition and just making sure that I was getting enough fuel. I'm really into like science and stuff, and I had my nutrition plan down to like I had calculated like, you know, how many milligrams of sodium is in the Gatorade that they're going to have at the race, and like I need 6.25 ounces every time I'm at an aid station. Like I had this all like calculated.
I'm sure you did.
The same with like the grams of carbs. And I think that helped me a lot to have that really dialed in. So shout out to Brooke
Yeah.
for really helping with that. Thank you, because that went really well. And then I think the last thing too is just at the end, just being mentally prepared and just kind of pushing through, because even with a great pacing strategy and good nutrition and having everything work out, like it's still hard.
Yes.
Yeah, and so just being prepared, and I just loved like all of Coach Kat's tips, and then also just being kind to myself and just, I don't know, enjoying the experience and just like thinking about not putting so much pressure on myself, like you have to do well in this race. It was just like I did this whole marathon training. I did all the training. I did all of this. I got myself here. Like this is just a celebration, and I don't need to like put on a lot of pressure that I need to run really fast. And I think not having the pressure allowed me to like relax and just enjoy it and just do the best that I could.
Yeah, and you did. You did indeed. And yeah, I'm so happy for you. And one of the things we had talked about, I remember the last time that you were on the podcast, was strength training. And, did you do any strength training during this marathon training cycle? And if so, what did that look like? And, how do you feel like that contributed to your overall performance?
Yeah. So I was doing 2 days of strength training a week. And I think this really helped me a lot because I really, of all of my trainings for any race I've done, this went the most smoothly for me in terms of like having injuries. Or I didn't really have any problems. I had no major setbacks at all, and I attribute that to strength training and also a good plan. But yeah,
Yeah,
that was
no,
really
that's
helpful for
great. And I
me.
remember we had spoke just as you started marathon training. I believe that was right
Yeah,
when we did a
yeah,
little Zoom call with
hmm,
some knee issues that you were having. And
yeah,
yeah, so you didn't have any of those knee issues at all during the actual training?
no,
Nice, nice. That's very good. Yeah. And those were pretty consistent with like we were talking around that quad area and like runner's knee. And I remember just kind of giving you some structured like exercises and what to focus on. And I remember, you were nervous that like, hey, this is going to get worse if I run harder or if I run
hmm,
longer. And I remember just kind of reassuring you that, hey, as long as you continue to work on, quad strengthening, hip muscle strengthening, that this shouldn't be an issue. So I was glad to hear that that wasn't an issue during your whole advanced marathon training cycle there.
yeah, me too. It was
Yeah.
something I was a little worried out at the beginning, and then it didn't end up being a problem at all.
Awesome. Awesome. So from a coach's standpoint, Lou, what did you feel were like keys to Rachel's success? And, if you had to basically give advice to, others who are running their first marathon, what can they learn from Rachel? What were the keys to success?
Starting from the very beginning, do not run a marathon just because you want to check it off the bucket list. I would say you definitely run a couple of half marathons, and you are very comfortable of the pace. The distance, and you can run at a pretty strong effort the whole half marathon. You feel like you can do more before you start. So you definitely want to get the mental ready. Even for you, Dwayne, you took you a while to get the mental ready. You like, I'm ready to do it. It
5 years.
you
Yeah. That was a while.
Definitely you have to be ready for it. If you can barely finish a half marathon, do not start doing the marathon. Even some marathons they have no time limit, so in theory you can finish it, but I would not suggest doing that because it's just so hard on your body. Being there for more than 6 hours or 7+ hours, just so cruel to the body. Give yourself time, get a half marathon strong so you can like half marathon, no problem. You are not like half marathon is not like you just to complete a half marathon. So you can do the whole thing strong before you move to the half marathon. Okay, then that you're ready, and then be willing to switch, adjust the plan. Like for adults, we are not full-time athletes. Everyone has some scheduled things that come up that conflict with the ideal plan. So then we just have to make adjustment to make sure the plan fit you. I like what Latoya said. We change our approach, but we stay at the same goal. So that's the same goal is to finish that strong without injury. But then it's okay to move this strength speed work a little bit. And when your body is not that tired, it's the entire process that really counts. The accumulated workouts, not just one workout. If you miss one, it's fine too. And I'm sure I told you, Rachel, that I asked you, do you feel like your body is ready to do this hard workout? If not, we always switch to easy run because it's no point when your body's already tired, you struggle through. And that flexibility. And the other thing is identifying the problem. I believe that Rachel, I saw a few runs that you are just struggling, and then we find the reason, and then we make adjustment. And as a coach, I review it and I see a pattern, and then I confirm with you, and then we find a solution. That's the other thing. Even if you have an internet plan, and even though you are a coach, sometimes we still need another coach because someone can take it from a different perspective and then identify something you may not notice. The other
Yeah,
thing
so
is
kind of identifying those problems and patterns, or what we like to call like sticking points in your training. And a lot of runners, like when I ask them, what are they currently struggling with, a lot of times runners don't know what they're struggling with, or they can't identify it because they can't see that those are a struggle. But like, with experience, right, and you worked with many runners before, it's kind of like it's obvious to us that either they're running their easy runs too fast, or they're not recovering enough, or their schedule doesn't meet what their demands are as a parent, or with work. So really, from what I heard there, Lou, is like you're playing detective essentially, right? You're kind of really analyzing the data that's there that we can see on Final Surge, and you're seeing like, okay, what is the problem here? Why didn't Rachel actually hit these paces that I thought she would hit for this maybe harder workout? And then getting into and identifying how you guys figured out that it was, hey, when she was doing her field work, that's when it was really hard to be able to hit those. And then you came up with the solution, like you said, which is great. So really identifying and then making adjustments and kind of being flexible is what I'm hearing.
right. Another thing is the monthly coaching call. We review the workouts and we reevaluate all the trainings every once in a while. As you progress, Rachel, you'll get faster and faster. So I make your speed a little faster too. The trainings, because if you just stick with the same training, then when when your fitness gets stronger, that doesn't the same speed, same pace doesn't feel give you the same result anymore. So I adjust a little bit, and then that becomes, for example, that the threshold supposedly it's the pace that's just able to you're just able to hold it without getting too tired. But then it becomes too easy, then it's not threshold anymore. So I make it a little harder, so that goes back to threshold. And I also ask you about RPE. I think that helps too, because I just look at the number, but I don't quite know how it actually feel like. So especially after workout, I'll check with you what your RPE is, and does it I can give my best estimation of the pace for your training, but it's just ideal. I want to know how you actually feel, so that I ask about, is that correct RPE zone, like the threshold, the RPE 7 to 8 usually on a scale of 10, and if that's 6, that's too easy, and 9 too much. So we play with it.
Yeah, and I think that is a really important point, Lou, is that, guys, what Lou is saying here is, as Rachel was crushing her training, as she was improving in the training, and she was nailing the workouts, not only did Lou make those modifications and adjust the training as her fitness was improving, but he wasn't just making that decision based upon, hey, she was hitting that like target pace. Oh, she's hitting 740, 735, 730, whatever your threshold pace was. Okay, let me make next week harder, right? Like he wasn't just using that, he was getting the information that he needed in terms of effort level and seeing, what was the effort level? Did it actually feel easier for Rachel? And then he made the adjustments. So I just want to make sure that we're clear that if someone is hitting, like, the main point here is not for every single week to like progressively get harder in a training cycle and you consistently run faster as you go along. But Lou was making those decisions based upon synthesizing information from multiple points, right, of data, of looking at, hey, what are the numbers showing me here in final surge that Rachel is completing, but then also subjectively, what is Rachel saying? How is she feeling? How does she feel for recovery? Is she staying healthy? Is she having any aches and pains, right? And then based upon all of that, now he's adjusting to an appropriate level for her so she can continue to get the most out of the training, is what I heard. Would you agree there, Lou?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great summary.
Awesome. Excellent. So, yeah, I guess, as we kind of finish up here, Rachel, I always like to ask a little misconception question. So, for those first time marathoners, if you could change one thing about like the misconception of running a marathon for the first time, what would that be?
Hmm. I guess just that it would be like, this big adjustment in training as far as like, oh, I just don't have the time for this because it's going to be this huge mountain to take on. Like if you're already at a place where you're ready to train for a marathon, with doing half marathon training, I think that you can do it and don't be scared because you just work your way up to that level and you do it. I just remember multiple times during my training, like after running like 18 miles, thinking, really? Like 8 more miles? I don't know about this, but the magic of the training works its way out. And yeah.
It's so true. It is so true. And yeah, no, I think that's a great point that you bring up as far as it not being a huge jump if you are ready for it, and just being smart about your training in your progressions. And if, any of you listening have been struggling, like trying to maybe run your first marathon, just because I talked to many people who are like, yeah, I was trying to run a marathon last fall, but when I got up to 14 miles or 16 miles, I started getting like knee pain, or, I wasn't able to complete the training. Or, you could be like an experienced marathoner, but you're really not maximizing what you can do as a runner, and you are ready to kind of get some solutions to some of your sticking points or problems and want to get the guidance of Coach Lou, just like Rachel did, we'd be happy to jump on a call and see if you're a good fit for how we help runners be able to get the structure of not only a run plan, but also a strength plan, and, have the support and accountability like Coach Lou was able to provide for Rachel that we discussed, with modifying things as they go, and enjoy like the process and actually enjoy the running. And that's something that I really took home from your story today, Rachel, is like how much you actually enjoyed the training, and then even better, enjoyed the actual marathon experience, because you only get one first, right? And I'm just so happy that you were able to enjoy that first experience. So if you guys are, wondering if you're a good fit, then yeah, let's hop on a call. Just go to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com/coaching, and we will hop on a call. So yeah, before we finish up, any last words, Coach Lou, that you want to add, or how proud you are of Rachel? I'm sure you like had proud coach written all over. I can see through your smile, like how
Yeah,
proud you are of her.
yeah, I'm so proud of you, Rachel. And even though you didn't know it, you qualified for Chicago.
For your first marathon, qualified for Chicago. That is amazing.
Yes,
And Rachel,
I'm so proud of you.
or have you started to think about like what is next? What is your next goal?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would love to qualify for Boston. I yeah, it was kind of like close this year with this one, and we just thought I'm just not gonna go for it. I could really push it and try to go for it and have a miserable experience. I'm not gonna not gonna do that. And I'm just gonna age in. So basically I just need to run the exact same time in Chicago and then I get to qualify. I just needed to be like 7 months older to qualify, so it's fine. But yeah, I am going to run Chicago next year, and I'm super thrilled about it. And
Let's do it.
yeah, just kind of taking things one thing at a time. But I'm really excited about that. So
Awesome. So we will definitely have to have you back on the show, for like the third time on another update after you run Chicago. So that would probably be like, I don't know, episode 240 or something, to get the Chicago update and see if you do get that BQ. But yeah, I'm just so proud of all you've accomplished now. Just kind of, working with you, I guess, really, is it 3 years ago, or is it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I don't even
Two
know.
years, probably 2 years.
Only 2 years. It feels like it's been like 10. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It feels like we've known each other forever. Just being able to, work closely with you, and then now, be able to kind of see from somewhat the sidelines, and, be able to see some of your wins in our coaching community, and then, touching base with Coach Lou on a monthly basis, and just, seeing your progress. I've been so happy to see how far you've come in your running in honestly such a short period of time, when you really think about it, and how young you are still, and how much growth you have as a runner, for someone who really has found running a little bit later in life. And it's been really cool watching your journey. So yeah, continue being consistent, and I wish you all the best in your future training, and I appreciate you from taking time out of your busy day and congrats on the new position.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks to both of you, because both of you have been just extremely influential in my whole running journey after I decided to get back into running during COVID with the rest of the world. You guys have helped me so much, and it's just made my running experience so enjoyable and so like fruitful. Just really helped me to improve, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was our
So
pleasure.
happy. Yes.
Our pleasure. And thanks again for coming on. And thank you all who are listening. And hopefully you took away a little golden nugget from Rachel's story. And you continue to get after it, be consistent like Rachel was, get that strength training in as well as the runs. And as always, let's stay active, let's stay healthy, and just keep running. Until next time.